You're listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to On Deck right here on the LineStar app. It is me and Chris Meaney, and it's you, and we are here to get after the DFS slate once again, because that's what we do, baby. We just get after it any way we know how. Plus, if you're enjoying the baseball show, here's your chance. Go. Subscribe to the pre-snap on LineStar. That's right, the pre-snap show. You can listen to the podcast. It's our NFL version of this podcast, and that's going to be coming out very, very soon. We're just a couple weeks away from that. So don't say that I didn't tell you so. You say, well, when's the show come out? Well, go subscribe to the pre-snap, and then you'll know. And then every time the show comes out, boom. So it's going to be a Monday show, a Thursday show, and there's going to be a betting show in between. So all your DFS, all your wagering, everything's taken care of. And, I mean, what more can you ask for, right, Chris Meaney?
Not much more than that. Looking forward to it. August 1st, football, Hall of Fame game. I know it's just preseason, but we're here. We're basically here.
That's right.
So looking forward to that. Get you prepared. Obviously, hopefully you have your fantasy black book. I mean, to prepare you for the season as well.
By the way,
that's a
3 straight weeks, #1 on fantasy sports on Amazon, and we're number 3 in football books right now. So how about them apples? So look, check that out. Look, if you're getting ready, I'm telling you, Chris did the DFS chapter. It's brilliant as always. If you didn't get the baseball version, I question your choices in life. But look, the NFL is here now. Get your black book over on Amazon or on iTunes. You get the paperback version on Amazon or Kindle, and we're crushing it again this year. It's great. It's comprehensive. Relative position value will change forever the way you play fantasy sports and really DFS and season long everything. It's the best tool out there because it's easy and it works. And I like things that are easy and work, like can openers. It's easy, it works. I can get in there and get whatever I need out of the can. That's what I'm talking about, right?
I'm not a fan of those electric can openers, though.
No,
those ones that hang on the wall.
Yeah,
that's
those
like
are
the
same
old
people
school.
that buy lineups.
Right, yes. That's like the old school rankers out there that are just like ranking guys, like relative position value and tiers. That's the new age, the new step. I like it. Yeah.
That's right. Losers use the electric can opener. Real men and women, they open up the can. We're going to open up a can of whoop ass on the slate today. We got a bunch of day games, but before we do, let's do what we got right and what we got wrong. Lance Lynn, unfortunately, got the loss yesterday, but wasn't terrible. I mean, honestly, he pitched pretty good, but the guy that was great was the guy that I loved the most. It was Brandon Woodruff yet again at home. I told you ownership would be a little spotty because of the Braves. Not to worry about it. The Brewers supported him in the best way. 13 runs, another great start for Woodruff, and 33 home runs from Yelich now. I mean, Chris, I got to tell you, I was always a fan of Yelich. I thought the power was a bit of an outlier last year. I was wrong. He's been absolutely terrific.
Yeah, he really has. I mean, you'd have to look into it, but like the last half of the second half and then this first half, I mean, what does he have? Like 60 homers? I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's been so good, so impressive. 33 bombs, 36 last year. I mean, yeah, there's really not a whole lot to say besides the fact, sometimes you hear about that myth, 26, 27-year age, some of that power comes along. We're definitely seeing it with him, 27 years old. He's an all-around just phenomenal player. He's a beauty. He really is. Yeah. I was looking at hard hit rates the other day and just against right-handed pitching, and he's like a 66% hard hit rate against right-handed pitching, like top of the league. Like he's very, very dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of dominant, the Yankees offense continues to be dominant. 8 runs for them. We talked at length about Didi Gregorius yesterday. He went yard. Encarnacion went yard. So the bottom of that order is still very, very productive. That's a positive for sure. The Red Sox are questioning, like we were now, why the hell did you trade for Andrew Cashner? Because he stinks. And the Blue Jays went all over him. Crazy.
Like,
this thing.
Like if you can't beat the Blue Jays with Andrew Kashner, you can't beat them. What are you doing? Like when you get into a wild card match with the Twins or Cleveland, or you got to play Houston first, right? Like, come on. Like, it's just, the Red Sox were that was the most frustrating thing for me yesterday. I mean, we got runs with the Dodgers and the Phillies. Walker Buehler wasn't great, but we still got runs there. Like Muncy and Bellinger went yard again. Pollock, we talked about right-handed bats. Like that was a positive. But the biggest downfall for me on the slate, and in terms of betting lines, was the Red Sox. I mean, giving up 10 runs to the Blue Jays and only scoring 4 themselves. So it is a little disappointing. I'm going right back to them today.
Well, look, if you faded the Twins and Mets yesterday, you did a good job because you listened to us.
Good call on you with the under.
And also Dylan Cease, we were running away from him. That was a terrible price. Everything there was terrible. Guess what? They jumped on him early and they lost 11-0. And Whit Merrifield continues to just rake. He's got his 12th home run now already. Hunter Dozier went yard in that one too. So we told you, don't get excited about these young kids. It's one thing about your season long. It's another thing in DFS to get excited about the young call-ups because they're limited. They're still trying to figure things out. It's not always a good investment depending on the price. And last night, the price of DK was terrible. And we told you, do not do this. It's a terrible idea. A good idea was Yastrzemski, who went yard again. Were talking about it. We were talking about it. Those guys, they just keep hitting. Trevor Story and Ian Desmond, who Chris mentioned yesterday, hit lefties well. And wouldn't you know it, Ian Desmond goes yard. So a pretty good day for us. I didn't get a home run right with Chris Davis. Chapman and Olsen went yard, not Chris Davis. Sigh yet again. But our boy Nitro DFS went yard, I believe, correct?
Yeah, shout out to Ryan Humphreys again. I think it's 2 straight with Juan Soto. I had Soto over at TQE, but I do a couple home run calls there. This is what I really care about, the one shot, and Ryan Humphreys is bringing it. And the Giants, again, 8 runs, all of a sudden, they are tied with the Rockies, the exact same record, and they still lead baseball in runs over the last 2 weeks, 71, and the Angels, again, 68. So we had another strong showing from the Angels without Mike Trout again. Another win against the Astros, put up 7 runs. Pujols was good in that game, and it looks like Trout will return today. So against Garrett Cole. So interesting slate today.
Let's get after it because we got a ton of day games. So I want to get these on here real fast. So we've got the A's at home with Homer Bailey making his first start for the A's against Eric Swanson. We got John Gray in Colorado against Sean Anderson. Then we've got the Braves and Milwaukee. So Chase Anderson, Dallas Keuchel, Sonny Gray, Yu Darvish. You got the Mets and Twins. I don't have nothing to do with Perez or Vargas. You can take both those lefties and stick them. Archer, Ponce de Leon. Don't like any of those guys either. So let's start off offensively because I think that's where we got to start. You want to get pieces of Colorado. You want to get pieces of Milwaukee. I mean, that's absolutely the way to do it here. Milwaukee lineup just came out, and looking at it right now, Chris, Keston Hiura is 3.4 hitting the cleanup spot on FanDuel today. I think you start that Milwaukee lineup, and that spot right there. I think that's a must-own today.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And Keston Hiura is still a great value on FanDuel. Another home run from him yesterday. He's just been lights out, all season. Very, very impressive stuff. In fact, he's got three multi-hit games. Like he's 2 in a row where he's had at least 3 hits, but looking at the game log, it's just this guy gets on base and makes things happen every single day. So Dallas Keuchel is not one of our favorite pitchers. I think we can pick on him. He's got a very high contact rate so far. He does keep the ball on the ground, but we've talked about it numerous times. Milwaukee is just one of those parks. It's a lot like Colorado where runs just happen. We saw Milwaukee put up double-digit runs yesterday. So I'm with you there. I think there's going to be some runs in Milwaukee, and it's hard to shy away from what's going on in Colorado right now between San Fran and
daytime. We all know in the daytime
exactly.
too. I will say this though. Here's my approach to the day slate. I'm gonna load up. I might even pay up for Yelich. I want Hiura. I understand it's Keuchel. I really don't care. He doesn't scare the hell out of me. So I'm gonna go right back to the Yelich well. I'm gonna go right back to all those guys. And I think I'm going to go up for the Dahls and Blackmons and all those guys and say, well, how can you do that, Joe? And I'll tell you how you can do it. You do it with John Gray at 7.5. I mean, this is a no-brainer for me, Chris. It's John Gray at 7.5, and he's been better at home this year than he has been on the road. It's a no-brainer on FanDuel. On the DK side, he's 8.6, still very attainable. I don't think that makes as much of a problem at all. The trouble is finding a secondary pitcher today. So for you in the afternoon slate, how do you afford Milwaukee and Colorado with Gray and a second pitcher? Who's the guy you're looking for that can get you the W? Is it Darvish? Is it Sonny Gray? Problem is those guys are expensive. Both of them actually more expensive by a significant amount than John Gray. So where do you go?
Yeah, it's a good question. John Gray's a great one. LineStar App agrees with you as well, and I think it's a contrarian play. Talking about the Giants, we've been talking about them for a couple weeks now, so maybe people are going to shy away from John Gray. And you're right, he's been pretty good at home. So I like that call by you. I think he's a great tournament arm. Yeah, where are you going to pay? Where are you going to do it? I mean, I don't want to go Vargas against the Twins. They hit lefties pretty well, so I don't want to go there. Definitely don't want to go with any of the Anderson boys. Chase or Sean. Don't want to go there either. Sonny Gray has been really, really, really good, but he's 10-2 on DraftKings, and that goes away from what you want to do, and I want to do what you want to do. I want to get the bats. Like, I got to get some bats in there, so I think you're just going to really have to take a shot, whether it's Martin Perez or you're really spending down for a guy like Homer Bailey. I know it's not great, but really, the Seattle lineup they have a lot of swing and misses in their lineup. They're not a good ball team right now. They're probably not going to win this game. You know that Oakland's going to be able to score some runs against Tommy Malone. So I think maybe if you just spend down, you plug in on DraftKings, you go Gray and Bailey, then you have an average of 4.3 to spend for the rest of your lineup. And
I think that's the way to go. I agree too. I think it's Bailey too. The better ballpark, all that stuff. That's where I was going. So I'm glad you went there too. So there you go. Stack Colorado, stack Milwaukee. Be simple. Don't try to get fancy. John Gray it up. And if you're on the 2-pitcher site, John Gray, Homer Bailey it up. That's 14-5 combined for I'm sorry, not 14-5. That's 15-6 for your combined pitchers. And that's a pretty good spot to be in. So let's move on to the evening slate here. We got Aaron Brooks. A little chance of some weather too coming, because I know there's going to be some thunderstorms in the New Jersey area. So just keep in mind too, there's going to be some precipitation out there tonight. So the Yankee game, I'm not cautiously optimistic about at all. There's going to be some serious rain potentially too in that one. So we'll get to that in a second, but could be some rain in Baltimore. Brooks and Eric Feedy in this one. Look, I don't love this one, but I don't hate it from the Washington Nationals offense standpoint as well. So I'm looking at Soto, but he's super expensive on DK, which means, of course, the Nationals become much more friendly over on FanDuel, and that means Soto is just 4K, which is a good spot for him. Adam Eaton's at 2.9, Trey Turner's at 3.9, Rendon 4.3. That's a good group. And of course, if you want to go down to the Zimmermans or Dozers at the 2.8, 2.6, you could do that too. But I like the Nats tonight against Baltimore in that ballpark. I think that's a good spot there for them.
Yeah, it is. Guys like Matt Adams. Matt Adams went yard yesterday. He should get back into the lineup. A lefty versus a righty here. He's 2.7 on FanDuel. You're just looking at Brooks' numbers. I mean, he's really struggled against left-handed bats. I mean, he's allowed 7 home runs, a 5.05 slugging, 3.44 WOBA. So I think that like Soto again is probably a must play. I know, like you said, harder to get on DK, but 4 on FanDuel. And, if Zimmerman gets in there, Dozier, like these are guys that I think you can make work and, tournament standpoint. Yeah, there's going to be some runs again from Washington. 6.5 team play total is one of the highest on the board. And you're right, like Yankees, that game could get postponed. The Phillies game could get postponed. There's some weather. Boston game could get postponed. So there's some weather games to really keep an eye on. So, I mean, if you're playing cash, if you're a cash game player, it might be Washington bats. Guys like Washington or Cleveland, the two teams you probably want to get involved with.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, those East Coast games, just a bad combination here tonight. We talked about Philadelphia, 2 potential rain there. Kenta Maeda, Nick Pivetta in that one. If they do get that in, I mean, obviously I lean towards, you look at Kenta Maeda as a guy that can get the W here against Pivetta. Pivetta has been unimpressive since he came back. I'm sorry. 8.3 on DK is a very good value for Maeda. A little bit of a discount from last time. I think last time was in the 9 range. It was a little expensive and it was not a good spot. But love him here. Another outing here against the Phillies. So that means you load up on your lefty bats there. That means the Muncies again. I know they're expensive, but Muncie and Bellinger, you got to go. Verdugo in the 2-hole. That's a good spot for him too. DK, obviously much more friendly. Cody Bellinger 4.8, but Peterson 2.8. Verdugo 3.1.
These guys haven't changed their price. I don't understand it. They scored like 20 runs in 2 days. Like
AJ Pollock 3.3. It's just
yeah.
Crazy.
Pollock went yard yesterday. Bellinger and Muncie have had a home run each in their first 2 games. I think Bellinger had 2 in the first one, and they both homered again yesterday. So, like, none of these guys have changed in price. I really just don't understand it. It's lefties and righties. Like, definitely want to get some lefties in there, but I wouldn't ignore AJ Pollock at 3.3. Just looking at Pivetta, like, it's been bad. Righties and lefties have crushed him, but righties have a 3.21 average, 9 homers, a 3.85 WOBA, a much higher hard hit rate and fly ball rate. So this is a good spot again for the Dodgers. It really is. And I think, like I said, people may shy away because some of the weather. So maybe we'll get them low owned in tournaments. But if you're playing on FanDuel, it's just you'd be silly not to put together, 4 Dodgers, mix and match. I would just have Bellinger and Muncy on both, and you do 2 or 3 lineups with these two teams with the Dodgers. Have Bellinger and Muncy on like 2 of the 3, and just mix and match like Jock and Turner and Pollock and Seager. Like they're just going to score runs again.
I agree. And look, I love Clevenger tonight too as a cash game pitcher. 9-4 against the Tigers. I love this. This is great. And the problem is you look at the rest of the slate and you see guys like, oh, Chris Paddock. Well, I like Chris Paddock, but he's only $500 less on FanDuel. So I mean, it's a little bit of a savings, but not a huge amount. And then ironically, you go over to DK, and it's the inverse. Paddock is actually more expensive by $1,000 almost, and that's just
weird.
This is nuts to me. And I really was liking Paddock coming into tonight until I saw the prices. And well, I like him coming off the long rest. I like him going into Miami. All these things are positive. It's not that I dislike Paddock. I just don't love the price. I'm not saying you don't go there. On FanDuel, you can do it. On DK, I think it's a little tricky when you go through that. But look, Franmil Reyes went yard again yesterday. Another guy in the middle of that order just crushes the baseball. So at 3.8 on DK, there's a huge savings. I know it's a righty-righty matchup. I don't care. I think you got to be aware of that. And then he's just 2.8 on FanDuel. I mean, come on. 2.8, Chris, for Franmil with that power? Why not?
I believe only Mike Trout has more home runs against right-handed pitching than Franmil Reyes. Yeah.
Well, because they look at it and it's like, oh, well, it's righty on righty, but I don't care. I mean, Franmil just crushes the baseball. I guess.
Yeah,
he does. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he's got tremendous power.
I don't know.
You're right about Clevenger. I mean, we saw Zach Plesac. He only went 3 innings yesterday against Detroit, but there was 3 scoreless, didn't give up a hit. And that's 10 innings against Detroit where he's only allowed 1 run and 5 hits. So we have to love Clevenger in that spot. I think he's a great cash arm. I think he's a great tournament arm. You're right about Paddock. I don't know what it is. I think it's just these guys like Dylan Cease, like Josh James, like trendy arms that people are excited about. DraftKings just bumps them up. So, I mean, Paddock I feel like San Diego should get this win, and Paddock will probably have a decent start, but it's hard for me to spend 10-9 when I can just go 9-9 with Clevenger, who has a higher ceiling in terms of strikeouts.
Yeah, agreed. So let's move on to Eduardo Rodriguez at home against the Blue Jays. Now, I actually think they'll right the ship here. I think Eduardo Rodriguez at 8.3 on FanDuel is actually a nice play tonight. That's a nice tournament arm in terms of price at 9.5 on DK. It's still, that dog will still hunt against Aaron Sanchez. So load up all the Red Sox you possibly can tonight against Aaron Sanchez. Forget last night. Shake it off. It was Andrew Kashner. Shake it off like Taylor Swift. Move on. Get over it and get on the Red Sox bandwagon. That means all of them. JD's, Xander Bogaerts, Devers, blah, blah, blah. All those guys. Get a move on because Aaron Sanchez is going to get lit up in Boston today. Anything else to add to that? Or
no, you nailed it.
Self-explanatory there. Well, because people get gun shy.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh my God, what happened?
Recency bias is a thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
No, don't get it's Andrew Kashner bias. That's the kind of bias we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Robbie 5 2/3 in Texas against Jesse Chavez. Now, how do you approach this one? He's 9.6 on the FanDuel side. On DraftKings, Robbie Ray is 10-1. Now, good outing for him last time. Do you trust him in Texas? That's the question.
Yeah, it's hard to trust him.
So I'm starting to personally.
Yeah, it's hard to trust him at that price. I get it, and the walks, but we've seen it now all year, really. We've seen it all year. Texas can't hit lefties. They just can't hit lefties. And we saw it yesterday with Clark on the hill. Like they just couldn't, they couldn't even hit him. So, I mean, for Robbie Ray, who has a higher strikeout ceiling than Clark, and I would go that way. I would go Robbie Ray. Like, look at all those lefties. The only righty that the Texas can throw at Robbie Ray is Elvis Andrus and Danny Santana if he gets in there. Hunter Pence returned yesterday to the lineup. So I mean, I like Robbie Ray. I think he's a solid tournament arm. I thought a little bit about Jesse Chavez because obviously the 4-1 is appealing, but I'm kind of off of him. But if you do want to punt pitching, that's probably the way you go in the late slate is to go with Jesse Chavez and spend up on the bats. But really feeling Clevenger, so it's hard to go there.
I don't think I do. I'm telling you, I think this is actually one of the few good spots that I'm positive on Robbie Ray because it's the lefty matchup. I am. He
And it
was good in the
wasn't
last
Clark, it
outing
was
too.
Alex Young. Sorry, my bad. Alex Young
No, it's
yesterday
all right.
pitching a lefty, and again, I mean, he only allowed 3 hits in 5 and 1 innings
Yeah.
in Texas. He had 4K. This is
And
somebody who
Hunter
doesn't
Pence has
strike out a lot
slowed
of guys.
down a bit
Oh,
too.
for
Like
sure,
all
we know that.
the things that have gone on there, you're starting to like get a little bit, okay, it's slowing down, some of those runs and stuff like that. So I think this is a spot where the D-backs actually have a good position here. I really do. And Jake Lamb at 2.6 is another guy to point out too.
Absolutely.
Against Chavez too in that ballpark. That's a good matchup there. Ivan Nova against Danny Duffy. I'm gonna continue to ride the Whit Merrifield bicycle all the
You
way.
should. You should.
I'm telling you, 3.8. Why not on FanDuel? I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, until he stops hitting, I'm going. And look, his price hasn't gone up. Now on DK, it's expensive. It's 5 on DK. It's tough one to pill to swallow there. But the rest of it's good. 4.2 actually for Dozier. I really like that price as well. 3.5. And 3.5 for Hunter Dozier and Jorge Soler, respectively, on FanDuel. So you could go with a little Royal stack tonight at home against Ivan Nova, and I actually like that as a little cost saving as well.
Yeah, of course. And they just put up, I think, 11 runs yesterday. Whit Merrifield is awesome. We talked about him the other day. So he's hitting 311 over the last 30 days. It's a top 10 average in baseball. I mean, all this guy does is get on base and make things happen. So you're playing on FanDuel. I think he's a solid play. And yeah, I mean, we know about Ivan Nova. He's just not very good. So I think there'll be a couple home runs. So he's just not. I mean, gives up a lot of contact, a lot of homers. So I like to pick on him in Chicago. He's obviously a little bit better on the road, but even still, like Dozier,
I want to pick on him
Soler,
there. I want to pick on him because that's a contacty kind of top of the order with Mondesi and
even Alex
Merrifield.
Gordon.
That's why.
Could be a sneaky play too. Yeah.
All right. So how do you feel about the big boy on the board, which is Garrett Cole tonight
Garrett Cole.
against your Angels? So how do you feel? How do you approach this one?
Angels are hot, man. They're very confident right now. I know Garrett Cole just played the Angels I think it was 2 weeks ago. He went 7 innings, 7 scoreless, only allowed 3 hits and struck out 9. It's just at that price at 12.5 on DraftKings, I'm not going to go there personally. I'm just going to, again, like the Giants, the Angels are right there in terms of runs scored. I'm sure Garrett Cole's going to be able to rack up 7 or 8 Ks even against a team like LA, who has the lowest strikeout rate in baseball. Like it's a given, but it's also a given he's probably going to allow a couple home runs. So I'm going to shy away at that price because I just like Clevenger too much at 9.9 and Robbie Ray too much at 10.1, and I want to get in some bats. I just feel like there's so much offense to be had that I'm going to go that way. But I know it's either you either go all in, Joe, or you just completely fade him. It's like one of the two. Like if you play,
the trouble is going all in on him. It's like, well, where are you going to go for offense?
Exactly.
I mean, you can go with the Royals, which is fine. Like it's the Royals grouping. It's San Diego. I think those are the two that you can make it work with tonight. You can make it work with the Padres. You can make it work with the Royals. And I don't think that's bad. I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I think Clevenger, that $2,000 that you're saving, literally $2,000 you're saving, that goes a long way to getting those bats in the Red Sox and the Dodgers tonight. I think that's where I'm really headed, especially because of the rain too, because you're going to be taking a lot of other variables out tonight, and that gets a little dangerous too, because basically it could very quickly become a short slate.
Oh yeah, for sure. It absolutely can. So, thinking about that as well, like if there's 3 postponed games or something like that, where with the heavy teams, like say the Yankees are not in play, the Red Sox are not in play, and who knows what happens in Philly and LA, then I kind of like that option of Cole. Like if you were to tell me that those 3 games would be postponed, then I would be in on Cole a little bit more. I'd go Cole and Royals, like you said, maybe Cole and Diamondbacks who are affordable. Like on FanDuel right now, plugging in Cole, you leave yourself about $3,000 on average to go across the board. Now there's some Dodgers in there as well, but there's some risks. So I think that maybe a lot of people will fade Cole. So I wouldn't completely ignore him. If you're a multi-tournament player, like you're going to put together 10 to 15 tournament lineups, I'd have a share. But I'm really intrigued with the Astros bats, and it's way too hard to go Cole and Astros. You just can't get it done. And I'd just rather have the bats against Felix Pena, a fly ball guy. Lefties crush them. I think Brantley and Alvarez are certainly in play tonight, and I would even get some exposure to Altuve. We know the price on DraftKings has finally jumped up. He's 4.6 now. Like I guess it's everyone talking about what's going on with Altuve, but he's still 4 on FanDuel. I think that's a pretty solid play.
But yeah, we haven't seen a 4 in front of his name since he's been back.
Oh, right, we haven't
on FanDuel. No, it's been 3s only for that. All right, let's fly around the betting lines. What do you like tonight, especially considering the tenuous weather, what's a safe bet for you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go. We'll take. Man, it's tough.
There's no safety tonight.
There
Everything's getting
really
rained
isn't.
on.
Yeah. The
Uh,
one thing. I mean, if you're
well,
gonna
but
make some.
it's not bad advice to say, hey, you know what? Not a good night. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with. I feel like everybody's like, well, I have to say something. I mean, there's going to be a home run hit tonight. We have to do the home run call. But if you're saying, you know what, tonight's the night you lay off, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with saying that. But if there
No.
was something you did like, then say it.
Yeah, no, there is. There
Okay.
for the early action, I'd like Oakland again. Again, I know it seems chalky, but I mean minus 190 right now. Talking to you guys a little bit later than we usually do. There's still pretty solid odds for Oakland and Minnesota. I know there'll probably be some runs in this Atlanta Milwaukee game, so that over at 10. Those are 3 games I like in the early slate. And just moving on over. I mean, if you do bet the Dodgers and that game is canceled, it's a wash. Like you can still win your money. It'll just be. Just think of it as like a pass. Like it just your odds will just get a little bit lower. It's so you can still go in on the Dodgers if you want to, the Red Sox if you want to, the Yankees. Like those are teams that I still like. Washington, you get involved with those teams, you'll have to pick them by a couple runs. But I like Arizona as a road dog, and I like the Astros tonight. So those are 2 I feel confident about, and as well the Padres over Miami.
All right, so it's that time to call our shot, and I'm going to go to Boston for this one because Aaron Sanchez is on the mound, and I love me some Aaron Sanchez when it comes to potential home runs. We're in Boston, so hopefully they'll get this one in. It just keeping my fingers crossed in this, but I'm going to go with Rafael Devers, and that's my shot that I'm going to call. If he gets rained out, I'm going to give you a second one, or if we get to a point where delays and things like that, I'm actually going to go back-to-back for Whit Merrifield. Back-to-back nights for Whit with a little bit of a power surge. This guy is he's just locked in, Chris. He is locked and loaded, ready to go. Love me some Whit Merrifield. Where are you going tonight for your call on your shot?
I'm gonna go with Jordan Alvarez tonight, a little lefty against Felix Pena. Yeah, I'm gonna try him out. And the same thing. I wanted to go back to Philly and LA. We'll say the same thing we said yesterday, Joe. If you're in a home run pool, I mean, I think you should attack Nick Pivetta. You get some Dodgers in there, whether
absolutely.
it's Jock Peterson. I think AJ Pollock is in a really good spot again, and just wanted to throw his name out there because he's got value on both sites. It's very rare to find a batter who has value on FanDuel and on DraftKings, and AJ Pollock is under 4K on both sites. So I think he's a good lineup builder, a good starter.
All right, there you have it. So that'll do it for me and Chris Meaney. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at LineStar App, at LineStar MLB, at Joe Pisapia17, and at Chris Meaney. And make sure you're using that LineStar app to make all your lineups, get all the tools you need to be successful in DFS and in life and in life. So that'll do it for me and Chris. We will be back tomorrow, which we're not usually, but because there's a whole bunch of games on the Thursday slate coming out of that All-Star break, we are going to be back with a show for you tomorrow. So those of you who always get sad that we're not there on Thursday and things don't feel right, well, we're going to do the Thursday show for you. So you're welcome. We listen to the people, and we're the people's hosts. I mean,
we're all
right,
about the
Chris?
people.
I mean,
we're all about the people.
We're the people's show here. So that'll do it for me and Chris Meaney. There's nothing left to do now except step out of the on-deck circle and into the batter's box and go yard. We'll see you next time, kids.
You've been listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.